Hey guys, welcome to COMPSCI 1MD3 tutorial number 4. And let me just make sure the audio is working because we are using a different system. So I'm going to hop on over to my channel and just ensure that the audio is working, and we'll be good to do some more coding problems today. I hope you're excited. So I don't see my stream. That's not a good sign. Oh, I have a link on YouTube. Okay. Where are we? Okay. Come to the YouTube. And how was my audio? And how was my audio? Can make that a bit better. How is the audio now? And how is my audio? Can make that a bit better. How is the audio now? Cool, awesome. Sounds great. Can make that a bit better. How is the audio now? Cool, awesome. Sounds great. And I'm excited to get started. Cool. Okay, let me just put this link up on Avenue and we should be good. So I'm going to put this link on Avenue and then we'll do some coding questions. So go over to Avenue to learn and I will log in. And I hope Dr. Moore isn't doing a late tutorial like last time. I think we should be good though. So hope the midterm went well. I imagine it did. From the marks I've seen so far, it was pretty decent. The marks should be up this Wednesday, and you should get your marks back directly on Avenue, like usual. And if you submit it through Jupyter Hub, your feedback will be available through Jupyter Hub. And likewise, if you submit it through Avenue, the feedback should be available directly on Avenue for this week. So let me just, I'm going to check out my audio again just to make sure. Through Avenue, the feedback should be available directly on Avenue for this week. Okay, it doesn't sound too bad. Let me just, I'm going to check out my audio again. Let me just make this announcement. Avenue, the feedback should be available directly on Avenue for this week. Okay, it doesn't sound too bad. Let me just, I'm going to check out my audio again. Let me just there we go. Cool. And I'll wait one more minute just for everyone to get set up, and we'll do some coding questions. Exciting. Let me just make sure that link works. For everyone to get set up, and we'll do some coding questions. Exciting. Link works just fine. Let me just make sure that link works. For everyone to get set up, and we'll do some coding questions. Exciting. Link works just fine. Cool. Okay, cool. All right, hey guys, welcome to COMPSCI 1MD3 tutorial number 4. Now with this tutorial being after the midterm, there are some changes with how this tutorial is run. Normally during the course, tutorial 4 is right before midterm 1, and we spend this tutorial doing more supplementary questions to help prep you for the midterm. With the midterm being passed, instead of doing more practice, we're just going to take up some more questions on general coding concepts that, of course, are a bit beyond the midterm now because we've passed the midterm. So all of these coding questions will be available on codingbat.com. And if you want, you can pause the video right now and do these 6 questions you see on this slide. These are the exact same 6 questions that we'll be doing together as a team later on. So yeah, you can pause the video and you can head over to codingbat.com and we'll take a crack at those 6 questions. Cool. And let me just, okay, cool. And it's live for my channel. Awesome. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to go to codingbat.com. And I'm going to navigate to the Python tab. And the first question that we're getting done today is under the logic-2 section, and it is called make_chocolate. So you can navigate to logic-2, make_chocolate, and this is the first question that we're getting done. Okay, so pause the video, take a minute and read the question, and then unpause the video, and we'll take up the question together after. Awesome. Okay, let's take a look at this question. We want make, okay, great English. Programmers can't spell, I guess. We want to make a package of goal kilos of chocolate. We have small bars, 1 kilo each, and big bars, 5 kilos each. Return the number of small bars to use, assuming we always use the big bars before small bars. Return -1 if it can't be done. Okay, interesting. So, yeah, this question isn't too hard. It's just a basic logic question, nothing too complex. We don't need any loops or anything. But we have to return the number of small bars needed to make this batch of chocolate. Not the number of big bars and small bars, just the small bars, because it is assumed that we use as many big bars as we can by default. So if we have a total goal number of chocolate to be made, and a portion of that chocolate is made with the big bars, we have to find out the remainder that is made with the small bars. So how would you find the remainder in Python? What tool can we use? Yeah, we totally can use the mod tool if need be. And the logic isn't going to be that hard. It's just going to be a simple if-else tree. So we have two conditions. We have the first condition, which is that if the goal, which is our number of gold chocolate, is greater than the amount of big chocolate that we have available. If that's the case, then the number of small bars needed is just the total difference between goal and the big chocolate. So let me demonstrate that in code if that's not too clear. So I'm going to make an if statement. I'm going to say if goal is greater than equal to, so goal represents the number of kilos of gold chocolate, and if that's greater than the number of kilos of big chocolate, then we'll move on with the condition. So how many kilos is in each big bar of chocolate? 5, right? So I'm going to write big times 5. And here I'm saying if the number of gold kilos is greater than the number of kilos I can get with the big chocolate, then clearly the number of small bars of chocolate I need is just the difference between the two. So that's assuming there's enough small bars to begin with. So I'm going to have a second condition saying end. And in this second condition, I'm going to put in brackets just to make it a bit more clear. I'm going to say if small is greater than equal to goal minus big times 5. Let's put this in brackets to make it a bit more obvious. But I'm saying that if the goal number of chocolate we have to make is greater than the total number of kilos of big chocolate, and if the number of small bars we have is enough to make up this difference, then clearly the number of small bars we need is just the difference between the gold chocolate and the big chocolate. So that's what we should return. Goal minus big times 5. That's only one condition. Now, what's going to happen under the other condition? What else could happen? We have this condition if the number of gold kilos is greater than the number of big kilos. But the other condition is what if the gold kilos is less than the number of big kilos? So what if we have more big bars than we need? So if we have more big bars than the total amount of chocolate we need, then we're not going to use all the big bars. We're going to use just enough so that we can use as many big bars as we can. And the difference will once again be filled up with these small bars. So once again, we have to ensure that this difference can be made up with a number of small bars. I'm going to say small is greater than equal to goal And, well, the difference is going to be if each big bar is 5. So if we're going to divide goal by 5 and get the remainder, well, we can do that with the mod tool. Goal mod 5. And I'll put this in brackets just to make each AND statement a bit more clear. And if this is the case, what we'll be returning this time is we'll return goal mod 5. And that's going to give the number of kilos remaining that can't be made up with the big bars, and so therefore it must be made up with the small bars. And we must ensure that there are enough small bars to make this amount of chocolate, and we ensure that with the second part of the condition. Now, if neither of these conditions are true, what does that mean? Well, it means that we cannot create the amount of chocolate with the bars that were given. And if that's the case, we should return -1. Okay, and we're going to try this out now. Cool, that wasn't too bad. So I think for the next question, I'll actually pause for 2 minutes just to ensure you can, just in case you're not pausing on your end, that you can actually attempt the question. So I'm going to actually pause for the next question to ensure you guys can take a crack at it. So for the next question, we're going to do string -2 xyz underscore there. So I'm going to go back to codingbat.com, Python, string -2, and then navigate to xyz underscore there. All right, same battle plan, guys. Pause the video, take 2 minutes to attempt the question, and then once it's done, come back and let's do the question together to ensure you did it with the best practices in the most effective way. So pause, try this question out on your own, and then we'll do it together afterwards. Okay, cool. And I'm going to put the slides up on Avenue in case that's useful, so you know what questions we're attempting. So I'll share this on Avenue. Okay, and I'll go to Avenue to learn, post this. Going to add slides too. Does the link work still? I hope so. Cool. Any comments or anything? Does the link work still? Good. So okay, today's gonna be a soft day, thankfully. Cool. In the meantime, I can update the thumbnail of the video. Comments or anything? Wow. Does this is going on? Actually, I'll do that later. Okay. All right, let's go back to xyz underscore there, and let's attempt the question together. Okay, so return true if the given string contains an appearance of x, y, z, where the x, y, z is not directly preceded by a period. So, for example, x, x, y, z counts, but x dot x, y, z does not count. Okay, again, pretty simple. There are a couple of ways we can get this done. What would be the best way? Okay, we'll try to do the most intuitive way first, and that is with a for loop. So I'm going to make a for loop, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to iterate through the for loop, and I'm going to be constantly checking to see if the next letter, if the letters contain x, y, z, and not preceded by a period. Now, this question does not specify what the min or max input is. So I'm going to make some assumptions, and hopefully there's no test cases that will give any grief. But we'll see how it works, and then we'll find out what the test cases are later. So the battle plan to do this question is we're going to make a for loop. We're going to iterate through the letters of the string one at a time, and we're going to see if X, Y, Z is in the string and not preceded by a period. So let's make that for loop. So the syntax is, of course, for I in range. And since we're iterating through a string of letters, or a list of letters, the string, we're going to say for I in range length of str. So it doesn't specify the length. So I'm going to assume it's a minimum of 4 or 3, but we'll see what happens. Cool. By the way, this isn't the best form. Does anyone know why, or what mistake they might have made on coding that? Can anyone identify? Yeah, so what they did is they're passing their variable as str, which it's not going to cause an error, but it isn't a good form to use keywords as variable names in Python. So better function name would just be s. Let's change this to s. So for I in range length s, I'm just going to say if s I is not equal to a period. So if the first character is not a period, and the remaining characters from I plus 1 to I, so if it's going to be 3 characters, it'll be I plus 1 to I plus 4. If that is equal to X, Y, Z, we're going to return true. Otherwise, return false. So this code would work except for 2 things. One, I'm not sure with the test cases that they're inputting whether the input is going to be less than 4 characters. I'm assuming it's not. So that's one assumption I'm making. The second thing that we have not done yet is there is an edge case, which is what happens if the first character, what happens if the input is just X, Y, Z. So how about we run this code, and then we'll see how it operates, and then we'll add in any edge cases if need be. Okay, let's run this code. Get item not for I range. Oh, sorry. So that should be S. Okay. Cool. Okay, yeah. So, oh, it still works for less than. That makes sense. Right. Okay, cool. Yeah. So our code works as intended, except there's one edge case which we need to consider, and that's what if at the beginning of the sentence it begins with X, Y, Z. So in that case, it would be true since there's no period, but that's not considered in the for loop because we don't start checking for X, Y, Z until the second letter or second element, not the first. So I can just add in a special if statement specifically for this edge case. And I can just say if s. So if the first 3 elements of the string, if that's equal to X, Y, Z, return true. Otherwise, you return false. Run this again. Beautiful. That wasn't too bad. Okay, so I'm going to actually just pause the video here so you can take a second to look at the code, copy it if need be. There are definitely a few shorter ways to get this code done, but I think this one illustrates the edge case the best. So I like this one the most. So yeah, I can try to replicate this code, play around with it, and yeah, do this question XYZ underscore there. Cool. Okay. Let me check on StreamYard. Awesome. Okay, no questions. Cool. Yeah, I hope the midterm went well. It generally does. Like, we're used to pretty high marks in this course, to be honest. I know last semester for midterm 1, the mode mark, the most common mark on the midterm for midterm 1, winter 2020, was 120%. So the class average was above 100%. That's how well these students did. And I'm confident you guys did just as well. Although we have more students enrolled now than we did in winter. So I don't know, maybe that means there will be a greater spread. And of course, we're doing the tutorials online instead of in person. In person is generally more fun. I bring candy, you know, when you give out snacks and try to make class fun. I can't do that online though, unfortunately. But I'll try my best to do other things to ensure you guys succeed in COMPSCI 1MD3. Cool. Okay, Memorial Day tutorial. All right, so I hope you've had a chance to replicate XYZ underscore there, and I am going to move on to the next question. So let us go on to sum 13. All right. I'm also going to pause just to make sure my audio is still working, just a bit conscious about that. So let's navigate here, 13. All right, yeah, audio sounds good. Cool. All right, so let us navigate back to Python, and we are going to go look at sum 13. So sum 13, that is under list-2. Okay, this seems more fun. It's a list question, and it's called sum 13. Yeah, so normally these 3 questions would take me the whole class because we'd give like 20 minutes for each question. I'd just walk around and like work with the students that would want to be worked with individually, and it takes more time. But now we just go so much quicker. So if you have any questions, just let me know. You can email me. That's I feel like the privacy more. I like responding to emails. Okay, cool. So once again, same idea. Pause the video and take a few minutes to attempt this question, and then we'll work on it together after. Just going to wait to encourage you guys to actually attempt the question by yourself. It is called sum 13. I'll make sure my Avenue post is working in the meantime. Yeah, okay, looks good. All right, let's do that question. Sum 13. So return the sum of the numbers in the array, returning 0 for an empty array, except the number 13 is very unlucky. So it does not count, and numbers that come immediately after a 13 also do not count. Okay, so the goal is we have to iterate through the array and add up all the elements to some total variable, and then just that, and then 13 we'll skip, and if a number is after 13, we also skip. So it doesn't specify if you only skip the number directly after 13, or if you're supposed to skip like all the numbers after 13. So I guess we'll write our code with one assumption and then change it after the test cases tell us which one is the case. Okay, awesome. Okay, how can we get this question done? Okay, so we can do this a few different ways once again. I think the best way is to kind of do it with a mishmash of if statements and a for loop. And I think that'll kind of show the different options we have to consider. Okay, yeah, so there's 2 edge cases we obviously need to consider, which is what if the number is empty? Or what if the last number is 13? Okay, yeah, so I think what we can do is we can just make a for loop. And I can say for I in range, and I'm going to iterate through the list of numbers. So to iterate through a list, I'm going to get the length of that list. It's called nums. And I'm going to iterate through the length of the list, which of course, because indexing starts at 0, means I iterate through the length of the number minus 1, because I'm going from 0 to length minus 1. And then I'm just going to have a for loop we're then just going to have an if statement saying that if a number is equal to 13, so I'm iterating through the numbers one at a time, and I'm going to say if that number is equal to 13, I will instead set it equal to 0. And I'll also set the number directly after equal to 0 too. And now I can just sum up all the numbers in my list. Cool. Okay, so there are a few things we have to consider though. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm just going to iterate through my list of numbers. That number is 13. Then I'm going to make that number equal to 0. And I'm going to make the element directly after also equal to 0. And then I'm just going to return the sum of that list. So for those of you that don't know, Python has a built-in sum function that returns automatically the sum of any list that is inputted. And I can demonstrate this in idle very quickly. So let's suppose I have a list that's equal to x, that's equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and this is my list x. And if I call the sum function and pass in my list, it automatically returns the sum of all my elements in the list. And so clearly that's going to give us the correct output because in my for loop, I have modified the list to set any values that are 13 to 0 and any value directly after a 13 to 0. However, there are some edge cases we have not considered. Can you guys spot them? Okay, how about I run the code and we'll see what test cases do not work and then we can try to fix for them. Okay, so let's run our code. Oh, sorry. Cool. Okay, so as you can see, our code works for most of the test cases. However, it doesn't work for all the ones where 13 is at the end. And that's because right now, we're only iterating from the first element all the way to the second last element. We can't iterate to the last element because obviously in our code, we're setting, when we're going to the second last element, we're also calling the last element. So if we iterated all the way to the last element, this would be index out of range, right? Like if I change this to iterate all the way to the end of the list, now we'd go out of range when we're doing I+1. So instead, what we can do is we can have a separate if statement just to consider the last element of the list. So I can say if, and I can say if the last element of the list, and of course to get the last element, I can just type -1. For example, for my list x, if I wanted to get the last element, just type -1. Of course, in our for loop, we were not going to the last element because if we did, then in this line, we'd be calling a number outside the range. So I'm going to say if the last element is equal to 13, and I'm going to say the last element is equal to 13 and set the last element equal to 0. Now there's one more test case we also have to consider, but I'll just run this code first just so you guys see how this works, and then we can add the last test case as need be. Shouldn't be out of range anymore because we're going back. But let me just, sorry, delete the if statement. And then if you run this again, yeah, okay, so then this time, yeah. Oh, let me just add one more if statement then. So I can also consider the test case that what if the list that's being passed in, what if that is blank? What if it's empty? What if the length of the list is equal to 0? So an empty list, let's say we have a list y that's empty, has no elements. Its length is going to be 0. So So if that's the case, we can also consider that, oh, so, and the reason why the list went out of range is because one of these test cases, we're being given an empty list. And so when, in my if statement, when I'm trying to call a length, the list at a specific element, since it's empty, that's throwing an error. So before this if statement, I need another one that's saying that if the list is empty, stop the code right there and return 0. Else if the last element of the list is equal to 13, then set the last element equal to 0. Otherwise, if the last element is not 0, we can just iterate through the list as normal and set all other 13s and numbers directly adjacent to 13 equal to 0. Let's run the code now. Beautiful. Okay, so those were the 2 edge cases we have to consider there. Sorry. Where the last element is equal to 13 and the length of the list is equal to 0. So I'm going to pause. So I'm going to stop here. You can replicate this code on your computer. That helps. I'll pause for a few minutes. And so yeah, normally in tutorial, these 3 questions alone would take us the whole class because like I'd walk to individual students and like help them individually. But yeah, we go so much quicker. And I guess now because school is online next semester, we'll have to do more content to fill up the extra time. Cool, cool. Okay, let me check the comments. No comments. Awesome. Okay, let us do another question then. Let's go back to Python. And the next question we'll do is under list-2, and it is called has22. Okay, same formula, so take 2 minutes, pause the video, and attempt the question by yourself. I'll wait, I'll be right here, and then we'll do the question after together to ensure that we're following the best practices. And in the meantime, I will check my audio quality. So try out the question, has22, and then we'll do it together after. So try out the question, has22, and then we'll do it together after. So right now we are on the question has22. Our second last question. Normally this would be the homework question. All right, but we're going so fast. All right, so let us read this question. So given an array of ints, return true if the array contains a 2 next to a 2 somewhere. Okay, so I'm going to iterate through the list one at a time, and I will return true if there are 2 elements adjacent that are both of value 2. So pretty simple. So to iterate through a list, I use, of course, a for loop for I in range. And then I'm going to write the length of my list. So for I in range, length num. And this would allow us to iterate through the entire list, one element at a time. However, because we're looking at, for every iteration, an element and the element directly next to it, I'm going to iterate only to the second last element. So if I were to run in this loop, this list right here, in this for loop, I would only iterate up to this element, because for each iteration of the loop, I'm going to look at it 2 elements at a time. Okay, and then I'm going to say if the element that I'm looking at, that's 2, and if the adjacent element is also 2, well, in that case, we are supposed to return true. Otherwise, we return false. Pretty simple. Awesome. All right, so take 2 minutes, replicate this code on your machine, and we'll do the last question. I'll pause for 1 more minute, and then I'll move on to the last question, which is called make_bricks. I'll pause for 1 more minute, and then I'll move on to the last question, which is called make_bricks. Cool. Okay, let us do the last question. So I'm going to navigate to Python, and then to logic-2. And the last question that we are going to do is called make_bricks. Okay, I'm going to give you guys 4 minutes instead of 2 to do this question, because you can actually do this question with 1 line of code. You can complete this entire question with just 1 line of code. So please take 4 minutes, think about it, and think about how you can solve this question with just 1 line, with just the return statement. And if you can't figure it out, no worries, because we will do that solution after together as a team. So I'm going to pause until like 9:10, and then I'll give you the solution. So read the question, try it out, and it's a fairly simple question, but what you might not realize immediately is how to do this question with just 1 line of code. So we are going to wait until 9:10, and then we will do it together after. Cool. And if you're looking for the list of questions that we did today, you can check out the slides on Avenue. All 5 questions are up there. I'd highly recommend just attempting those questions independently by yourself. And then if you need help, you can check out the solutions in this video. Or furthermore, you can email me, reach out, we can look at it together. You have to get used to this, unfortunately, because school is online in fall. And at 9:10, I will give you the solution. So normally, I would only take up 3 questions in class, but we went through it so quick, I guess, because you don't spend any time interacting. So we took up the homework questions too. Yeah, if any of the solutions don't make sense, just reach out and we can take a further look at why we were doing a solution a certain way. And I have to do some C++ after, unfortunately. It's not ideal. I'll give you 2 more minutes and see if you can come up with that 1-line solution. So you can solve this question with just 1. You can solve this question with just 1 line of code. It's very similar to the make_chocolate question we did earlier. Give me 2 more minutes. See if you can come up with that solution. Normally, I'd give out chocolate if you got the solution right, but I'll try to see if I can come up with some other types of prizes to give out in online class, like a card or something. Cool. Okay, you guys had 4 minutes to attempt the problem. I'm confident most of you guys solved it, and perhaps solved it with just one line of code. So with this problem, you have to return either true or false. You have to return true if it is possible to make the goal number of bricks with the given bricks we have. And we have to return false if it is not possible to make the goal height of bricks with the bricks we have. So it's very similar to the make chocolate problem, in which case we have small bricks that can make 1 inch of height each, and big bricks that add up 5 inches of height each. And so we have the total height, the goal height, which is the third parameter being inputted. And we have to see if we can get to that height using just the small bricks and big bricks. So to do this, we just have to ensure 2 things are true. And the 2 things we have to ensure is we have to ensure that the difference between the number of big bricks and the number of goal bricks, so that difference, that remaining portion, can be made up by the number of small bricks. So to do that, well, I know I have my goal, and I know that if I mod that by 5, whatever that is going to be the remainder between the number of big bricks and the actual goal, assuming that there's more big bricks in total than the number of goal height we need. So if that is less than or equal to small, well, in that case, then we should have enough small bricks to make our object. But we have to also ensure that we have enough big bricks as needed. So to do that, I'm going to write goal minus big times 5, because each big brick is 5 inches. And if that's less than or equal to small, and if both of these conditions are true, then we can make the required number of bricks. So I'm going to add some brackets that hopefully clear that up a bit. We have these 2 conditions. These brackets don't change the code at all, but it's just meant to make it a bit more intuitive. But I'm saying that I have enough bricks. It's possible to make this total, assuming that my goal number of bricks minus my number of the height, my goal height minus the height I get from my big bricks, assuming that's less than or equal to small, then you have enough small bricks as needed. And also assuming that in case we had more big bricks than goal bricks, so at this mod 5, that remainder, as long as that is less than or equal to small, then surely you have enough small bricks. And now we can run the code, and it is true for all of our cases. Okay, so I'm going to pause here. You can try to replicate this code on your machine and see if you get the same output. And if that's the case, this is the quickest way to do this problem, the best way in my opinion. Cool, and I'll check comments. No comments, awesome. Okay, so those are the 5 questions that we were supposed to take up today. If you have any additional questions about any of these solutions, you can email me at oasem@mcmaster.ca, or you can ask on the Piazza page or any other way you can reach out, and of course we'll help you. Midterm 1 marks should be up by Wednesday, and feedback should be on either Jupyter Hub or Avenue. It'll be on the website that you submitted through. And if you have any issues at all, just email me and I will resolve your issue as soon as I can. And yeah, I hope the midterm went well, and I hope you guys have a good week. If you're in the US, happy Memorial Day. Sorry you had to spend it watching a COMPSCI 1MD3 tutorial, and I will see you guys on Wednesday. Okay, I'm going to end the live stream now. Oh, thanks, Amy. All right, take care. Bye.